And we are thrilled, actually, this afternoon to welcome to the Busted Halo Show actor, writer, producer, director Emilio Estevez. As an actor, you may remember him from his standout roles in the classic 80s films The Outsiders, The Breakfast Club, St. Elmo's Fire, and Young Guns 1 and 2, and as Coach Gordon Bombay from the Mighty Ducks series. Behind the camera, he directed the film Men at Work, in which he also co-starred with his brother Charlie Sheen, and he's also directed the award-winning film Bobby, about the life of Robert F. Kennedy, which won a Hollywood Film Award and received an unprecedented 7-minute standing ovation after it premiered at the Venice Film Festival. He is currently finishing up production on his most recent work, a film which he wrote, produced, directed, and stars in, called The Way, about an American father who travels to Europe to recover the body of his estranged son who died while traveling the way of St. James to Santiago de Compostela. Welcome to the Busted Halo Show, Emilio Estevez.
Thank you so much, Father Dave, and what a great introduction. My mother couldn't have said it better herself.
Actually, I think your mom wrote that.
Yeah, she did. We asked her if she
felt
could
vaguely familiar.
put something together. I did all those things. It's great to have you here. We have to get right out of the bat. We have to get out of the way that the young man sitting to your left and my right grew up and pretty much every day of junior high and high school watched The Breakfast Club.
I have to admit it was a daily occurrence. And I've said it on the show before, so I'm not afraid to say it now. It wasn't just that we loved the film. It really kind of changed my life right when I needed to see it. I know it was a long time ago, but it affects me every single time I watch it.
Well, it's one of those movies that have stood the test of time, and if you have an opportunity to get a couple of those on your resume in a career,
right,
you consider yourself lucky. Right?
Well, it was quite a moving tribute to John Hughes that they did on the Oscars the other night, and a lot of the old people coming out of the woodwork there.
Indeed,
we actually had Anthony Michael Hall on the show a couple months ago.
Oh, good.
Yes,
yeah. I haven't seen a lot of those folks for quite a while.
I would imagine.
I saw Judd years ago, and they tried to wrangle me to be a part of that, but I tend to be shy by nature. I tend to not...
You'll fit in real well here in the Busted Halo Show.
Father Dave gets that all the time.
I tend to not want to be out there promoting myself. I'm not a great self-promoter. I like to go out when there's a movie, when there's something that I have to talk about. But I've never been a guy, in doing this now 30 years, I've never been a guy that just sort of went out there to get publicity on myself. I just never saw the value in it, and especially now when you look around, all these people who just want to be famous,
right? Just for the sake of it, and it sort of takes some of the magic away. I think if you're out there giving it away all the time, who cares? Well, I would imagine that also, particularly growing up in your family, a very Hollywood family, it was around you all the time. So maybe it's something that other people want, and once you have it, you don't want it as much. Right. No, I'm content with staying out of the limelight until I have to step into it. And I have a great garden at home. I have a vineyard. I make my own wine. Nice. I raise chickens for eggs. So I have hobbies that take up a lot of my time that have absolutely nothing to do with show business, which I think is really important if you intend to have a well-rounded, well-balanced life. If I knew I was going to meet a celebrity with his own vineyard, I would not have given up wine for Lent, which I did. Well, we are talking with Emilio Estevez here on the Busted Halo Show. Great to have you take some time out of probably finishing production stuff on the way. Tell us about this film.
I just ran over here from the cutting room. We're literally in the middle of trying to lock picture.
Do they still do it with all the stuff on the floor, all the 16mm celluloid that you're wading through?
No, it's all digital. It's all digital now. It's all very nonlinear and very you don't have to reach into the trim bin to look for that moment.
We cut that. Where is that? Well, tell us about the film. It's your baby, your idea? Right. You're in it. Your dad's in it? That's correct. Yeah. The movie started as a project that came out of a series of discussions that I had with Martin, my father, about 7 years ago. He had just done the Camino de Santiago, and he was in the middle of doing the West Wing at the time, and he had a very short period of time during the hiatus, in which to go and do the Camino. Because it takes a while. It takes about 6 weeks. For an average healthy person, it takes about 6 weeks to start in Saint-Jean-Pied-de-Port, which is in the French Pyrenees, to Santiago de Compostela, which is 800 kilometers. Wow. So that's going about 20 clicks a day. It's about 500 miles. It's 500 miles, correct. So they didn't have the time to do the entire pilgrimage on foot. Neither of them ride horseback, which is another way you can do the Camino. My father or my son. Okay, right. And they didn't want to rent bikes, so they did it the other sensible way, which is by Mercedes. In fact, it had the seal of the President of the United States right on the side there. So the two of them went off and did a part of the Camino. My son met a young lady, fell in love, came back from this experience and said, "I'm moving to Spain." Wow. And your son, how old? My son at the time was 19. Oh, wow. So he met this gal, moved back to Spain, learned the language,
married her in a formal ceremony just last August.
Wow, congratulations.
So thank you. So the Camino has great meaning for us.
Sure.
But since that trip, my father and I have been talking about, hey, my father mostly saying, let's go make a movie on the Camino de Santiago. And I thought, well, what sort of film could that be? He says, well, it'll be a documentary, and you'll take a couple of these digital cameras, and we'll shoot it, and it'll be just you and I, and we'll get your son Taylor, and it'll be the three of us. I said, that's not really where I'm interested, and where my interests are laying right now.
Something bigger, Dad.
Something a little bigger. If we can figure out a dramatic narrative, great.
Right.
So out of a series of conversations, we came up with this idea where we have this California doctor who's played by Martin, who in the beginning of the movie receives this
Martin Sheen, for those keeping track at home.
he gets this horrible news that his son has died in the Pyrenees doing the Camino de Santiago. And he says, I don't even know where that is. He goes to France, to the Pyrenees, to pick up the body, to bring it home for burial. And while he's there, he has this moment of inspiration. He has the body cremated. He puts the remains in an urn, puts the urn in his son's backpack, and the two of them make the journey together.
Wow.
So it's a father-son story without the son being alive in this case. And then it follows his journey along these 800 kilometers, and the people that he meets along the way, and the people who attach themselves to him.
And does he meet you along the way?
He sees there are images of Daniel along the way.
Oh, so you're the son.
Yeah, I play the son.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Because I'll have to say, you kind of guys look alike a little bit.
Right. The gene, there's some strong genes there. So it's really, they've been the pilgrims have been making this journey since the Middle Ages.
Sure.
And it's pretty extraordinary. You meet a lot of people out there. You meet a lot of Canadians and Germans and Dutch and non-believers, believers, people who are trying to quit something, people who are trying to gain something back. Right. And it's a incredible transformation that you see these people go through along the way. And one of the things,
that's what it's called, The Way.
That's called The Way.
That's the name of the film. Yeah.
Every pilgrim, and you recognize a pilgrim by the shell that they wear. They wear them around their necks, or they put them on their backpacks.
Like a scalloped shell.
It's a scalloped shell.
Yeah.
And so what I'd like to give you as a gift.
Oh, thank you.
And as an inspiration to one day do the Camino. This was given to me by a gentleman named Pepe, who did the Camino, and he's done it 6 times now.
500 miles.
500 miles.
Like on foot, usually.
On foot.
Oh, boy.
On foot. He gave it to me as an inspiration prior to shooting. I took it. I made the journey, albeit with a crew of 50 people and a couple of cameras.
And craft service.
And no, there was actually the Spanish, they take their food very seriously, but they're not into the craft service. It's about an hour-long meal, and it's a good meal.
Like on a movie set, usually you have a table that's got bagels.
Not
and
on
pizza.
this one. You know those films where they have the special chairs like the ones we're sitting in for the actor?
Chair. Yep.
We didn't have those. Trailers for the actors to go in and rest a minute. We didn't have those either.
Dave didn't even care about those. He was only concerned about the food at that point.
Yeah.
Right.
Chairs, I'm not really.
What about the food, though?
It's a small movie, but it's got enormous themes, and it looks because anywhere you point a camera in Spain, it looks like $100 million. Sure. So anyway, this shell I would like to give to you.
Thank you.
To inspire you now to take pilgrimage.
Mm-hmm. And what does it say on the inside?
And it's called Finisterre, which is one of which was the end of the Camino de Santiago. It's where the Romans believe was the known end of the world.
Oh.
We took it to another place called Muxía, which is also another sort of end of the world marker, and the Camino actually continues on to Finisterre and to Muxía.
I think if I make it to the end, it will be the end of the world.
That'll be it. He's actually a tad disappointed because you brought the scallops without the actual scallops inside.
There could be a little garlic and butter.
It's just the shell. I guess this is okay.
No, God, thank you very much. This is beautiful.